So we got a pretty big story, and if you've been watching the news at all over the last few months, you know that there's a lot of brouhaha going about the connection between Donald Trump and Russia and Putin. And I'm not going to be one of those people that says that he's a Putin puppet and he's run by, he got the election through Putin. It seems like a lot of bullshit to me, and that's a topic for a different time. But what we're talking about here today is that there's this cute little connection that we've got going on between Russia, the UAE, which is the United Arab Emirates, and Blackwater. Now, if you remember, Blackwater was embroiled in a lot of scandals involving Iraq and those war crimes that they did and all the people, the civilians that they killed. So up until that point, we had been employing them as a mercenary for hire group. They are run by an Erik Prince, who just so happens to be Betsy DeVos's brother. Betsy DeVos is our new education secretary, donated copious amounts of money to Donald Trump's election campaign. Erik Prince is responsible for $250,000 that he donated to Super PAC mega donor Rebecca Mercer. And, of course, Betsy DeVos had her huge sums. The whole family, the DeVos family, which is an Amway Ponzi scheme, they donated tons and tons of money to Republican officials for the last 20 years. Millions and millions. I think the number was up to about $200 million from the DeVos family donated over the last 20, 30 years to Republican candidates. That's neither here nor there. But the Blackwater is run by Erik Prince, and Blackwater is no longer allowed in this country. They are basically a Christian mercenary group that got caught in some really nefarious dealings in Iraq. So now they are stationed out in through the United Arab Emirates. Anyway, there's this meeting that happened recently in the Seychelles Islands. The Seychelles Islands is this remote island off of the United Arab Emirates, and this prince, his name is Prince of Abu Dhabi, which is the UAE. He put together this meeting between a very high-ranking ally official of Putin and Erik Prince from Blackwater. And it's also got this interesting tie to a server in central Pennsylvania owned by Donald Trump. So we'll circle back around to the server in a minute. But the meeting arranged by the Prince of Abu Dhabi back in January between Erik Prince, and this Putin associate to establish a back channel between Trump and Moscow. And this is according to United States, European, and Arab officials. So they've got a lot of backing to this story. But this meeting in the Seychelles Islands, which is this really remote island, and the only reason why you would have a meeting out there is because you want complete autonomy, complete anonymity. You do not want anything to be recorded, anything to get out. There's no reason to be going out there otherwise. Now, little backstory on Erik Prince, who, like I said before, is Betsy DeVos's brother. But he was spotted going into Trump Tower back in December. He also has really close ties to Steve Bannon and to Breitbart. Of course, he has lots of private contracts that are pending. And with Donald Trump in office and his big $250,000 donation, not to mention his sister's huge donations to the Republican Super PAC, he's pretty much guaranteed to get all these private contracts. And right now, the UAE hates Iran, and they hate Syria, and they're not really big fans of Russia. So if we give these contracts to Erik Prince, what do you think these mercenaries from Blackwater are going to do? They're going to be doing some really covert, subversive type of government overthrowing things. That's what Blackwater did back in Iraq. Why would we think that they would do anything different in Syria is beyond me. Now, they did have a lot of trouble in the past Blackwater, so that's why they had to relocate to the Persian Gulf. Now we can only speculate what that Seychelles meeting was about. But Flynn and Kushner and Erik Prince, they all met back in December with the Russian ambassador Kislyak. So all these interesting little tie-ins. We don't see a lot of fire right now. Well, we see some fire, but we see a lot of smoke, and it's getting really confusing, but it's also all these little things are starting to tie together. Now, the UAE, the United Arab Emirates, they have been fighting Iran, and there's some speculation that says that that prince, that Abu Dhabi prince, he wants to get Putin to go against Iran because those two, the UAE and Iran, hate each other. Now, of course, I don't think that Putin is going to go against Iran because Iran has this ginormous gas pipeline that is running out of Iran through Syria and into Europe. They are basically fueling Europe's national gas consumption, which is a really interesting factoid because our ally, Saudi Arabia, wants to run our own pipeline through Syria into Europe. Our cutting into Putin's monopoly on supplying gas through his pipeline to Europe is going to make Russia take a big monetary hit. And after their last debacle a few years ago invading Crimea and Obama putting sanctions on them, stopped a $500 billion oil deal that Russia had with Exxon to do some Arctic drilling. So that got put on hold. Of course, now that Rex Tillerson, ex-CEO of Exxon, is now our Secretary of State, I guess we can only speculate how long those sanctions will last against that Exxon-Russia oil deal. Probably 6 months. Who knows? How long is the memory of the American public? Circle back around, and this is the interesting point. Trump has this server in central Pennsylvania. Now, it seems like this is not part of the story, but this is where it gets really interesting. Now, this server is getting a lot of traffic, which is why it got looked at in the first place. This teeny little town in central Pennsylvania has got a Trump server in it, and it is getting huge traffic. Now, 80% of the traffic it's getting it is coming from one bank in Russia. It's called Alpha Bank. And 80% of the traffic going to this server is from that bank. Now, of course, Trump's excuses is probably spam. Spam. Really. All this huge bandwidth traffic that this server is getting, it's spam. Yeah, I'm sure it's like 6 emails. You know, we're trying to move some money around. Would you write us a check? Okay. Now, there's 80% coming from this Alpha Bank, and 18% of the traffic is coming from this company called Spectrum. This particular Spectrum is a medical facility chain, and it is owned by Dick DeVos, husband to Betsy DeVos, our education secretary, and brother-in-law to Erik Prince, head of Blackwater. And to give you a couple of little factoids about Dick DeVos, he is a right-to-work Republican. When they say right to work, the first thing that should pop in your mind is anti-union, hates unions, right to work. He helps run that huge Amway Ponzi scheme. His dad was Richard DeVos. He's Little Dicky. But his dad, Richard DeVos, was worth $5 billion. He was number 67 on Forbes' most wealthy people on the planet. And he's also the owner of the Orlando Magic. So this Dick DeVos owns this company called Spectrum, and it's a medical facility chain. And that's the other 18% that's going to the server, the traffic that's going to the server. So my question to them, and for all of us to think about and ponder, is how many coincidences do you need to start adding this stuff up? I hear the media touting this nonsense about how Putin influenced or rigged the election. It leads you to believe that there are a bunch of little, cosmonauts hiding in your voting booth, pulling the levers against your better judgment. This is not what happened. We have real things that we can investigate Trump on. The emoluments, the amount of money he has invested in other countries, all the shady deals that he has going on. But, I'm completely separate from that because my children are running it. Oh, except for Ivanka, who's not really running anything, but she's sitting on Daddy's lap. And not my son-in-law, Eric. He's really handsome, isn't he? I like him. He's a real estate guy like me. But, we got Erik Prince for Blackwater. He wants his military contracts. You got Betsy DeVos already got her Secretary of Education title, which she just wants to defund public education because she wants it all to be privatized, which is more money for the rich, less education for your children. Russia wants their $500 billion oil deal with Exxon, and we got Rex Tillerson as the new Secretary of State, who doesn't seem to know fuck all about being a Secretary of State. You look at him, he's got that deer in the headlights look every time he stands up there and gives a speech. He has no idea what he's doing. I think he just liked the title, Secretary Tillerson. We all know what Trump wants out of the deal. They say, well, he got the presidency, so that was his reward. He didn't want the presidency. He didn't even think he was going to win the presidency. Donald Trump wanted to up his brand. And this whole campaign was free advertisement from the media. And he thought he was going to lose to Hillary Clinton. And then the whole time for the next 4 years, bitch and complain about Hillary, all the while raising up his stock point on his name, Donald Trump. Because that's all he cares about is the money. He's never cared about anything else but money. Now, what we do know about Donald Trump, there's some things we don't know, like amounts, but we do know that he has loans from Russia. This has all been corroborated. He has loans from Russia. We don't know the amount. We would know a little bit more if he had his tax returns. Oh, yeah, what's the day? April 15th. Got a whole bunch of people out there marching on the street right now, all across the country, because Donald Trump won't release his taxes. Oh, they're under audit. Not this year's, not 2016. Today is the day. It was paid. So those aren't under audit. Under audit, let's see them. Come on, Donald, cough them up. He's not going to. He's got the other 15 years of his tax returns shoved up his ass or in his hair. But we know that he does have loans from Russia. We also know that he's funneled anywhere between $500 million to $1 billion through Deutsche Bank. This is Donald Trump funneling his money through Deutsche Bank. And the particular branch of Deutsche Bank, they've got a nickname for it. They call it the Global Laundromat. Russian oligarchs use this exact same department in Deutsche Bank to funnel their money. We have Rosneft, which is the largest Russian oil company, recently sold 19% of its company to some secret entity. Could it be Trump? Who knows? We just know that there's a lot of nefarious stuff going on here, and there's a lot of speculation. I know that the media really wants to have this whole Russia is the one pulling the puppet strings story. I don't buy it. What I do buy is that Donald Trump has a lot of outstanding debt across the planet. He owes a lot of people a lot of money, which is even worse than having to pay back campaign funding. I give you some money, you do me favors. Donald Trump owes people. So the only way he can pay them back is through favors. Sweetheart deals, government contracts for the military, big, huge oil deals. This man is corruption personified. And if you're going to go after the man, go after him on the things that you can prove. Go after him on these things, these emoluments, all of these debts, all of these extra hotels that he's putting across the planet, all of these shady little deals that he has. There is so much to go on, we could almost drown in it. But we're too busy saying that he's Putin's puppet. And mainstream media is saying this stuff just to keep you distracted, keep you watching his tweets. And if that's not enough distraction, hey, Donald Trump will drop a bomb somewhere. Stop paying attention to mainstream media's talking points and start going after Donald Trump on things that really matter and the things that he can be busted at. Because Donald Trump is the most corrupt person I've ever seen. And he is not going to change. It's going to get worse. Hey, this is Antoinette from Transistor Rodeo. If you like what you saw here, please subscribe for more videos and content. And you can follow me on Twitter at Transistor Rodeo.